Hello, everyone. I'm Mickey Feldman-Simon. I'm the founder of I'm Back at Work, and I'm really excited to have you here today, joining me on the webinar about goal setting and making your dreams come true. And before we get started, I do want to make sure that everybody can control the webinar panel and to make sure it's not obstructing the view of the presentation. So your panel may look like the image on the right here where it is closed up, or the image on the left where it is expanded. And to open or close it, you just click on this orange arrow at the top and it will open and close the panel. You can also just click at the top of the panel and then just drag it out of the way so it is not obstructing the view of the presentation. In the last 5 minutes of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session. Also, I will ask you to input your answers to some questions along the way. You just click on the questions bar and then you type in your answers or your questions in the blue rectangle just underneath here. And now just a little bit about me. So I am the founder of I'm Back at Work. I founded I'm Back at Work to help women who have taken a career break get back into the workforce. I have over 25 years of experience in HR, recruiting, business development, and marketing. I've taken multiple career breaks myself, whether it was to take care of my kids when they were young, to take care of my aging parents, to move continents multiple times. And I've successfully returned to the workforce after each one of those breaks. And while I saw other women really struggling to do so, that really encouraged me to start I'm Back at Work and to help women like you return to the workforce. So we have all the free resources on the I'm Back at Work website. I also coach women. I speak at conferences. And I also consult to several Boston startups and I help them with their recruiting and HR needs. I have a BA in psychology and educational counseling, a master's in organizational behavior, and the senior professionals in HR certificate. And now I'm going to turn my video camera off so we can concentrate on the presentation. And why goal setting? So those of you who follow my blog, you know, I talk about goal setting a lot. Goal setting is what will help you move your life forward. I love this quote of a dream written down with a date becomes a goal, and a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. It's also backed by research. So there's a very famous Harvard study where they surveyed MBA graduating students and they asked them a very simple question. Have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplish them? And this is what people said. So these are again graduates of the MBA program. 84% had no specific goals at all. 13% had goals, but they had not written them down. 3% had clear written goals and plans on how to accomplish them. So they followed this group and then they asked them some questions 10 years later, and this is what they found. So the 13% of the class that had goals but did not write them down, they earned twice as much as the people who had no goals at all. Now, the 3% of the people that had clear written goals, they were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97%, all put together. Now, it's not about how much money you earn, not for me anyway, but it's about achieving the things that you want to achieve. And what we're going to work through here is how to set goals that are meaningful to you and how to put down a plan, an action plan that can make your dreams come true. So I really want you to share with me now, and if you can just put in the questions in the chat, tell me what are your goals, and if you share with me what your goals are, we can also use them as examples while I talk through our presentation today. So please go ahead and tell me what are your goals. Okay. So please share your goals with me and think about them, or write them down on a piece of paper next to you. So, okay, some people have long-term goals. Jen, thank you for sharing to live part-time in MA and part-time somewhere else. Nanny, get in shape, fuller, more energetic. I'm glad you're saying that. I have some examples on that. Mary is talking about getting back to work. Thank you for sharing, ladies, and other people. You can write down your goals as well. Start your own business, Emma. Find something that works around your kids. That's really important. Annie May, get a job that fits with family life and long term to be happy. Definitely can understand that. Find a work from home part-time position. I'm so glad that you're sharing all these goals with me. So as the next thing, let's think about it where not everybody wrote down their goals. And if you are struggling a little bit with what, some people have, and they wrote down here, so goals for the next 5 years, maybe 3 years, 1 year. If you're still not sure, try and think about the next 3 months, or even try and think about next week, okay? And then I want you to choose one thing. So for people who wrote more than one thing here, like getting an MBA and losing weight or something, first of all, let's start with one. A lot of research has shown that when we focus on one thing and make that our first priority and make that something that becomes a habit, let's say we want to get fitter and exercise more, make that a habit as part of our life, and then we'll move on to working on something else. So now take a moment and imagine yourself at that point where you have achieved your goal. You've gotten your MBA, you got that dream job that balances life and family. You're running a 10K, whatever it is, see yourself there and savor that feeling. So I hope you're all enjoying where you've reached. And now I really want you to think clearly on why are you doing this? Why is this important to you? And I'm asking you that because sometimes we have goals that we thought about, and we thought that this is something that's really important to us. I can tell you that I had different goals when I was younger for my life in general, and it took me a while to sit down and to think, hold on, what is it that I want now? What is important to me today that I want to do? And if you want to get a job, why is it that you want to get a job, let's say? Is it because you're bored out of your mind? Is it because you want to contribute to your kids' college fund? You want to do something more meaningful? What is it that you want to do, and why? And remember these whys, because I find that the why, one, helps us to really understand what we are doing this for, and helps us get through the hard moments of, like, when you're in the middle of it and it's really hard and you think, oh, why am I doing this? Oh, I have this list of whys. This is what I'm doing it for. And then it's a great reminder to help you work through it. So when we think about an action plan, I want us to first of all think about what do we need to do to achieve your goal. Okay, so this is really like writing a list of all the things that we need to do. And the idea here is not to get overwhelmed by this list, but really to be able to then break it down into achievable steps. So let's say if you want to return to work, try and identify positions that interest you. And you may be there already. You may know exactly what you want to do and the steps that you need to do. Maybe you just need that resume, cover letter, working on your LinkedIn, or maybe you just need the interview practice. So I want you to write down for your goal, what are the things that you need to do to get there? And then we're going to break down these bigger things into little achievable steps, because what happens often is that that bigger goal is too overwhelming for us to take action on. So what I want you to think about now is just all the different things that you need to do, and then we'll think about how we break them down. And let me give you an example as well. Let's say you're not sure what position it is that you should be looking for. Start looking through job descriptions on LinkedIn, on Indeed. Start looking through what's out there. Think what is appealing to you. Reach out to different people, to friends, to people you know. Have informational interviews so that you can learn more about the positions to see if they really meet your needs. So those would be smaller steps that you would write just for that first part. Okay. Another example is if somebody wants to get fit, and let's say, and this is something that I did over the summer, I decided, yes, at the age of 50, that I wanted to start running. And my husband is a runner, and he just said, like, just go out there, start running. And it's like, no, you know, I can't just go out there and start running a mile, and he will just go out and run 8. So I really needed a plan because it just seemed impossible. I had to get running gear. I had to work out a running program. I ended up downloading an app. There's the Couch to 5K, Couch to 10K, and it helped me. I would take it with me when I would go running, and it taught me how to run for a few moments, stop, continue running, and really guided me through this whole process to get me running. I also needed a schedule, okay? Because I have to tell you that at first it was not my biggest motivation to just go out and run. I had to put it into my weekly schedule to make sure that it happened. I used to look at the weather as well, because if it was too humid, too hot, too cold, there was always wonderful, I'll call them excuses or obstacles, that we'll talk about them later, that I had to know and work around how to do it. Now, a running buddy, if you can find a buddy to do any of this work in trying to achieve your goal, it's wonderful to have somebody going through the process with you, whether you schedule a time to go and network together, to go running together, to go to the gym, dieting, different things. A buddy is always basically like an accountability person for you, and it helps go through it. Now, for me to know that I had a deadline was something that was very important and very motivating. So I chose a race that I would do, and I knew that by that point, I had to accomplish my plan. Okay, so what would be the next steps? So I want you to think now, whatever your goal was, what can you do in the next 7 days? Okay, now we're not thinking months into it, and we're not thinking years. We're just thinking now over the next 7 days. What can be 3 steps that you can take to make you closer, move you closer to achieving your goal? So if, let's say you want to, like Cheryl, you mentioned you wanted to lose 10 pounds. What can you do in the next week to help you get there? Is there an exercise? Do you want to go out and exercise 3-4 times a week? Do you want to eat healthier? So what would be 3 things that you can do to move you closer to that goal. Now, I want you to be really specific. Let's say, for example, on Tuesday, I will cook a healthy meal, including X and Y, okay? On Wednesday, if you're working on your networking, I will identify at least 3 events that I can go to. I will register to them, etc. So be very, very specific in what you're going to do. I want you to use positive language. So I don't want you to say, I am not going to eat a brownie. I want you to think about eating the orange. Because if you just think about not eating the brownie, the first thing that pops into your head is that brownie. Let's say if your goal is to talk to your kids in a more positive way. Okay, so we're not going to write, I'm not going to scream at my kids. We're going to write, I'm going to talk to my kids in a more passionate and understanding manner. And I hope that that's very clear why we want to set ourselves for success and talk in an encouraging way. Now, when you do feel like this, I can't, it's something that I can't do, I love, Carol Dweck has done a lot of research about the power of yet and the power of a positive mindset. And when you think for yourself for a moment that I can't do this, just add yet afterward. I can't do it yet. I haven't lost 10 pounds yet. So it is a process and it is something that you are working towards. And it's very easy for us to think that other people are good at it, they're good athletes, it's easy for them. And we forget about all the hard work that they have likely put in there to get to where they are today. I love Einstein's quote, I'm not smarter, I stick to things longer. And just for us to sometimes think, take it into account that there will be ups and downs, okay? And what happens with like the research that I shared in the description of this webinar is that 80% of people don't stick to their goals and they fail because they don't take into account that there are these ups and downs. It's not likely just going to go smoothly and you won't have a week where you will not do all the steps that you did. But that's okay. The way to go around it is to try and learn from the things that you did, and say, understand that there's a lot of work that needs to be put into it and move yourself forward. Malcolm Gladwell did the research that showed that to become an expert at anything, you need to put in 10,000 hours. So you're not just born with it. And there's always the example of Michael Jordan, that no, he did not get chosen to be on the high school varsity basketball team, but he didn't take it as something that now he should give up. What he did instead is he took it as something that should motivate him to work harder and succeed, because practice is what makes perfect. So I really want you to nurture this growth mindset. To understand that the path to success is not everything just happening perfectly one step after the other, but it is a learning process. And yes, we do fail as part of it, but failing is a first attempt in learning. So embrace every challenge, and I want you to really think about what you can learn from the experience. So I didn't go running last week, so why didn't I go running? Well, I went to sleep late every night, and then I was too tired to get up in the morning. So what can I do next week? So next week, I'm going to go to bed earlier so that in the morning when I get up, I can get myself out of bed and go running. So I look back and I try and think of why I did not succeed and what it is that is going to help me succeed the week after. And this is again from Carol Dweck. Our abilities are only determined by our effort, how much effort we decide to put into it, and our attitude. Believe that you can and you can do it. Okay, now I do want you to think of the obstacles and what it is that will prevent you from achieving the things that you wrote down. And I really want you to think realistically, because the idea is that we are setting ourselves up for success. So yes, the first time that I said, okay, I'm going to go running, I said, I'm going to run 5 times a week. I don't have the time to run 5 times a week. So saying that was not setting myself up for success. But you know what? Saying that I will run 3 times a week as a goal, that worked. So I want you to think realistically on each step of what you're setting yourself up to do, and think if that is something that you can really do. And I want to give you an example here. I was coaching a young lady called Yvette, and we were looking at her goals for the next year on a career and personal level. And she wrote down she really wants to do her CPA. And when we talked about the why, she had great whys. She knew that that is something that is going to move her career forward, open more doors. And she was very excited by it. But on the personal level, she's been running marathons. She works full time. And the practicing from the marathons takes a lot of time out of her week. And when I asked, okay, so what will you need to do for the CPA? And suddenly the CPA was spend a few hours each week learning. There was no time for it. And she's had this CPA as part of her goals on her plan for a few years. But every time she felt like a failure that she didn't do it. But this time she actually made an intentional and informed decision and decided that that is not what she wants to focus on. That for her, doing the marathon is more important at this point in her life. And she's going to put the CPA aside. So guess what? At the end of this year, she's not going to feel like a failure because she didn't get her CPA. She's going to feel great about the fact that she's continued to run the marathons and she's made a decision about what her priorities are. Now, think for you, what will prevent you from achieving your goal? Is it watching a Netflix series that maybe you should not be watching? Do you need to take care of your kids, and do you need to sort of reframe your goals and break them down a little bit differently so that you can manage both? Think about each one of these obstacles, and let's think of a plan of how to get over it. Are you going to eat a brownie because the brownie is sitting there on the counter and it's very attractive? Do you need to put healthy snacks on the counter so that that will be more approachable and you will try and eat that? So think for each one of those obstacles, and you can think about them now, and you can also think and see afterwards when you start moving through the program and you look back, what were the things that what were the hurdles? What stopped me from achieving it? What can be my plan next time? I'm going to sleep early. I'm going to put a bag of my running things ready by the door so there's nothing preventing me from getting that done. Try and think of all those things in advance, and not to have them discourage you, but to have a plan on how to overcome them. Okay, so think back about the 3 steps that we talked about, right? We're taking 3 steps next week to move closer to our goals. The next thing that I want you to do with each one of those steps is I want you to give it a score. So think for yourself, how likely are you going to do it? So I can tell you that if I wrote down I will run 5 times a week, I will give that a very low score. So I want you to have steps that you can give a score that is higher than 7 out of 10. So think for a moment, what is the score you would give each one of those steps? Again, remember, we are setting ourselves up for success. So if the score is less than 7 out of 10, what do we need to change? Maybe you can only meet with 2 people next week. Maybe you should just work on part of the resume this week and move to another part next week. This week, do your resume. Next week, do your LinkedIn. Have you put too much on your plate? How can we break it down further so that it is achievable this week? Now, something that's very important is that you write down your goals and you do it on a weekly basis. And for some people, for me, it actually helps me to think about next week's goals at the end of the week before, so that I know sort of what I'm going to, what my schedule should be like. For some people, it's an exercise they do every Sunday, every Monday. But it's important to look at the goals for the next week and also reflect on the goals from the week before. It's a learning experience. So don't look back and say and bash yourself for just not achieving those goals. The idea is to look back and think, okay, I didn't get these things done. What can I do to improve on it next week? How can I set up steps that I can do this week, considering what I got done the week before? And celebrate your accomplishments. What did you achieve this week? Look down and be proud of the things that you have done. So we talked about the week. So now I want you to think of also of a day. So in a day, we get pulled by so many different things, and it's hard sometimes to make sure that we get done what is really important to us. So I want you to think what is important to you, and for each day, write down your priorities. What must you get done today? Today, I had to be ready for this webinar. That was my first priority. Have that all set up and running, okay? I do suggest that you do these things first thing in the morning. Things pop up, okay? If you get the things that are most important for you done first thing in the day, you can do lots of other things later on afterwards. And it sometimes, it means saying no to somebody. If your goal is to go running today or to have a healthy meal, then maybe you will not have coffee with a friend now. And maybe you won't go out to to eat dinner at a diner, but you will cook a healthy meal at home today. So think about your priorities, write them down for each day. What are the most important things you want to get done that day? And try and do them first thing in the morning. Rewarding yourself, I think we often forget to give ourselves that pat on the back and feel good about what we've done. So set yourself milestones for when you will reward yourself, okay? So are you going to get yourself a great running outfit when you get to a certain point? Maybe you're going to get a new outfit for that job interview. Or you might just set yourself time aside to go out with your partner, to have coffee with friends. What is it that makes you happy, okay, that will help you celebrate and feel good and notice all those accomplishments and the things that you have done? And that's different for different people. For somebody, it just might be, I just want to spend an evening alone in front of the television, but I'm going to intentionally make that something that I savor and see it as like the gratitude and the things I give myself as a result of accomplishing my goals. So I love this quote by Henry Ford, and I really believe that this is true. So whether you think that you can or you think that you can't, you are right, and you can. And if you follow these steps and you write down the things that are important to you and break it down to little steps that you can do and reflect and think how to improve every week and move yourself forward, you can. Now, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I also want to invite you to join our Women's Only Facebook group. It's the I Am Back at Work Facebook group where we support each other throughout job search, careers, any kind of these women issues that we face. And so I invite you to join that and now ask any questions. Okay, well, people are typing their questions. So how do you keep the positive attitude? Okay, I think the important thing of keeping the positive attitude is keeping that belief that you can. So going back and setting yourself little steps, and every little step that you achieve, take credit for it. Take a deep breath, feel good about it, so that in the next thing, you really can feel the success and feel the steps that you have taken to move you forward. So often I also hear women sort of saying, but somebody said this and somebody said, try and separate yourself from negative influences. Surround yourself with people that you feel are really supporting what you're doing and that will help you reach that success. Suggestions for finding funding for a 401. I think it's doing some research and identifying these. It can be sometimes be VCs or other companies that are that is their specialty, and I think it really there's 501s that are in so many different fields. So I think that it's just important to do the research to understand the field and the key players. And there's also if you reach out to me through the Facebook group, I have a name of one person. She specializes in nonprofits and she might be able to help. Well, thank you everybody for your questions and for joining me here today. And I hope you join us in other upcoming webinars. And I will see you again soon.